Welcome to Turn Friday into Erev. Shabbos today is not Friday, it is in fact Erev Shabbos. I want to thank our generous sponsors, Mendes Bara Fishman, Schus V'chai Rivka Vasi Bara Friedel, and in memory of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Ben David Aryeh. It may feel like it's Friday. Your calendar may say Friday, but it's not Friday. For a Yid, for a Jew, it's Erev Shabbos. We spoke last week about the construct of the menorah. We climb. Shabbos is the peak, the pinnacle, the climax of the week. And then we come down, Havdalah, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Erev Shabbos. So we are on the cusp of the peak, the pinnacle of the week. We're on the cusp of Shabbos. It is not Friday. It is, in fact, Erev Shabbos. And I want to share with you about the mitzvah of Challah. Our Parsha Shlach, has at the end the mitzvah of Challah. It's very interesting because the mitzvah of Challah, separating a part of the dough, whether it's for bread, whether it's for mizonos, whether it's for a cake or cookie, Challah has to be taken if it meets all the criteria, all the measurements, all the requisite amounts. And yet, we call the bread that we eat on Shabbos the lechem mishnah. We call it challah. Did you bake the challah? Where'd you get the challah? Ooh, the challah is delicious. What's on this challah? Challah. Why do we call the bread of Shabbos? Why do we call it challah? The truth is, challah applies Sunday through Friday. It doesn't only apply at the pizza store. The one who's making the dough has got to take challah. The bagel store, you got to take challah. You got to take challah if you're regularly making bread. It doesn't only apply to Shabbos, and yet Shabbos is when we call that bread challah. So the Otzar Plos HaTorah quotes from the Rebbe B'Chich in his Eshel Avram, the Tam Nifla Minhag Ha'olam Shekoron L'Lechem Shel Shabbos B'Shem Challah. Very beautiful reason. Because there's a special quality. The mitzvah of Challah is so special, so beloved to Hashem. Indeed, the Medrash tells us it's one of the reasons that the entire world was created. Gedola mitzvah Challah v'chaviva, because the Rabbi Seinu said in Bereshis Rabbah, B'schus shlosh dvar nivra olam, in the merit of three things, the whole world was created. And b'schus Challah, Bereshis bara, ve'ein reishis ela Challah, reishis ariso seichem, the first of your dough. And because of first, the world was created, and that is the mitzvah. And that's why Hagos Maimon says, "Al mitzvah zun istabu anashim v'zuri yotzu min anashim." Women are cautioned, they're warned. Women are empowered. Women are tasked with separating the challah. That's what we say on Friday night by Memad Likin. Al shlosh doram, al shlosh averos nashim mezas b'shas leidasan. For three averos, mistakes or failures, women suffer a consequence if they're not careful. Nida challah and adlakas haner. So you see that this is a critical mitzvah, a beautiful mitzvah. It's a mitzvah for which there's health and life and longevity. It is the reason the world was created. So people should be eager and run to take challah. So people who buy bread for all the rest of the week, they don't bake their own loaves of bread. I've never eaten a loaf of bread that was baked in my home the rest of the week, but every Shabbos, my wife makes the most incredible, the greatest challah anyone makes anywhere, anytime. Because one of the ways that we honor Shabbos, one of the ways that we elevate Shabbos is through the mitzvah of challah, such a sacred, such a holy, such an elevated mitzvah. A mitzvah that in its merit the whole world was created. And therefore the bread of Shabbos you call challah, in order to remember, do the mitzvah of challah. Bake challah and do the mitzvah of challah, because it's the merit and the mitzvah of challah that things are so elevated, are so holy. The Tzvi Hirsch of Rimanov, the Beres Mayim writes, Mashin Espashin Aminag Lukro Hapas Shal Shabbos Kodesh B'Shem Challah. He quotes from the Zohar HaKadosh, because Boy L'Sidra Petura B'Shabsa begin the Yisbarchu Pesure Kol Inon Shisa Yomei. Because it is, a person sets their table for Shabbos, and there's challah that they baked, and there's bread through which they, in that home, fulfilled the mitzvah of challah. It's through that the table is blessed all 6 days of the week. If we want the parnasa to flow, if we want the table to be a place of great blessing, the people, the health, the longevity, the company, the family, the food, the delicacy, if we want the bracha to flow at that table, then it should be a table that on Shabbos holds the challah from which the mitzvah of challah was done, says Rav Tzvi Hirsch of Rimanov. So therefore we call the bread of Shabbos not just bread, but we call it, even though the mitzvah of challah applies all the time, we call it the mitzvah of challah. It's in that merit that the whole world was created. The whole world was created. Chazal reinforced the idea that the mitzvah of challah brings great bracha into our lives. Rivka continued the tradition of Sari Imenu, that bracha metzuya be'isa, the blessing was found in her bread. When Yitzchak took Rivka back into his tent and the continued miracles of his mother Sarah, that was affirmation, validation. That's how he knew she was the one. The Heilige Imre Pinchas, the Pinchas of Karetz writes, that doesn't mean Sarah's dough was large. She didn't have cinnamon, she didn't have everything sprinkles on top. It wasn't cooked through and through or undercooked for the people who like it doughy. It means, what does it mean that bracha metzuya be'isa? Says the Imre Pinchas, it means that her happy and cheerful and loving disposition were the critical ingredients. If someone takes a bite of your challah and says, "Oh, that's delicious. What's in this challah?" You know what the answer is? Love, happiness, goodness, hope, emuna, bitachon, unity, to feel a sense of achdus with Klal Yisrael. Yes, challah, flour, water, cinnamon, whatever is in the particular challah, you can mention the ingredients, but those aren't the most important. Because when a person is angry or bitter or divisive, that's also tasted in the challah. So bracha Matzui Be'isa says, Rav Pinchas of Karetz means the bracha of the person who's making, who's kneading, the person who is braiding that challah, baking that challah, their love is the most important ingredient. Their hope, their faith, their unity. When our children need to taste in the challah a spirit of togetherness at the Shabbos meals, that's the mitzvah of challah. Why is unity, challah, the mitzvah? So the Shem Yishmuel, the Sachat Rebbe says, normally when the farmer is making the challah, they're harvesting something new. With challah, nothing new has been created. We're taking little pieces, little particles of flour, and now we created a mitzvah just by mixing together something that's not new. We need the flour, the particles, that creates a dough, and from that we take the challah, and that's a mitzvah. So the Shem Yishmuel writes that when we take a piece of that food of challah, we give it to the Kohen, we're repairing the damage of the division to Klal Yisrael. We don't have to create or invent or build something new in order to find holiness. Just bring things together that exist already. That's holiness. So challah comes from dough. Dough are particles of flour that are brought together by the water and kneaded into a dough. So challah represents achdus and unity. We repair the damage of divisiveness. So the Meraglim, they sowed division. And the same parsha, we have the mitzvah of challah, because challah is the symbol, the conduit of unity. So as we turn our Friday into Erev Shabbos, as we're preparing and baking or buying, nobody should feel bad. We're not sitting in judgment of anybody. We're not judging anybody who didn't bake their own challah, even if you buy a challah. But nevertheless, a person should go in with the mentality. A person should go in with achdus. We're going to bring the bracha to our table like Rivka continued from Sarah. We're going to create an achdus and think of our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael. And in that schus of challah, the schus of challah, should all have a beautiful, a heliga, holy Shabbos and your besoros tovos.